Most companies dream of having a hit product, but a few products become something much bigger than a hit. They become the center of an empire, not because they are the only thing the company sells forever, not because they are always the most technically advanced, and not because they never face competition. They become empires because one product creates a system around itself. A brand, a habit, a distribution network, a pricing advantage, a supply chain, a culture, a repeat purchase, a customer identity, a reason for retailers, advertisers, developers, franchisees, or suppliers to organize themselves around it. That is the difference between a successful product and a product empire. A successful product sells. A product empire teaches the market how to behave. Coca-Cola did not only sell soda, it sold a global ritual. The iPhone did not only sell a phone, it became a gateway to Apple's entire ecosystem. Windows did not only run computers, it became the default operating language of the PC era. Barbie did not only sell a doll, it sold a world of identity, fashion, aspiration, and reinvention. The Lego brick did not only sell plastic, it sold infinite possibility through a standard connection. The Big Mac did not only sell a burger, it made fast food measurable, repeatable, and globally recognizable. Marlboro did not only sell cigarettes. It showed how advertising could attach a dangerous product to identity and myth. Viagra did not only sell a medicine. It created a global category around a private medical problem. The Toyota Corolla did not only sell a car. It sold reliability at planetary scale. And the Gillette razor did not only sell a tool. It helped popularize one of the most famous recurring revenue models in business. The question is not simply which product sold the most. The question is deeper. How does one product become strong enough to build a machine around it? Number 10. Gillette. The empire built on the blade. The genius of Gillette was not only the razor. It was the replacement. Before disposable blades became normal, shaving was not the same kind of consumer business. A straight razor could last for years. It required skill, maintenance, sharpening, and often a barber. Gillette changed the relationship. The product was simple, a safety razor with replaceable blades. But the business idea was larger. Once a customer adopted the handle, they needed the blades. Once they needed the blades, the company had a reason to keep selling to the same customer again and again. That made shaving less like a one-time tool purchase and more like a recurring system. The razor created the platform. The blade created the revenue. This is why the phrase razor and blades model became so famous in business. Even when historians debate the exact origin and implementation of the model, the meaning became universal. Sell the base product, then profit from the consumable. Printers and ink, game consoles and games, coffee machines and pods, software platforms and subscriptions. The logic appears everywhere. Gillette's empire came from understanding that the most powerful product is not always the one with the highest price. Sometimes it is the product that creates a repeat behavior. A man did not buy a Gillette blade because he loved buying blades. He bought it because shaving had become part of routine. That routine was the empire. Gillette also had another advantage. The product was personal. Shaving is close to the body. It is repetitive. It is tied to identity, grooming, work, masculinity, hygiene, and social presentation. A trusted razor was not just hardware. It was part of how a person faced the world that gave Gillette pricing power. If a cheap blade cut badly or felt uncomfortable, the customer might return to the trusted brand. The blade was small, but the perceived risk was high. That is a perfect condition for brand loyalty. Gillette's lesson is simple. A single product becomes an empire when it turns a daily habit into a protected revenue stream. The razor was the beginning. The blade was the machine. Number 9. Viagra. The empire built on a hidden problem. Viagra is one of the strangest product empires because it was not born as the product people remember it for. Sildenafil was originally studied for cardiovascular uses, but during clinical research, Pfizer discovered an effect that redirected the drug's future. In 1998, Viagra launched as a treatment for erectile dysfunction. This was not just a pharmaceutical launch. It was a cultural event. Viagra turned a private medical issue into a mainstream commercial category. That mattered because the problem was common, but often hidden. Many men experienced erectile dysfunction, but stigma made it difficult to talk about. Doctors could treat it, but the public conversation was limited. The market existed before the brand, but the brand gave the market a visible shape. Viagra's empire was built on three forces. First, medical legitimacy. This was not a supplement, not a rumor, not a backroom promise. It was a prescription drug from a major pharmaceutical company, approved through the regulatory system. That gave the product credibility in a category full of embarrassment and misinformation. Second, simplicity. The product turned a complex medical and psychological problem into something that could be discussed through one recognizable pill. That simplicity was commercially powerful. Third, cultural recognition. Viagra became more than a medicine. It became shorthand. People knew the name, even if they never used it. Late-night shows joked about it. Media covered it. Doctors discussed it. Competitors entered the market. The blue pill became an icon. But this is also where the product empire becomes complicated. Viagra's success depended on a serious health issue, but the brand's cultural fame sometimes made the subject feel like a punchline. That tension matters. A medical product can create enormous value, but it also carries responsibility because it deals with real patients, real risks, prescriptions, contraindications, and doctor supervision. The business lesson is not sell embarrassment. The lesson is that a product can become enormous when it solves a real problem that the market was afraid to name. Viagra did not create the need. It made the need commercially visible. And once the need became visible, Pfizer did not just have a product. It had a category, number 8. The Big Mac, the empire built on repeatability. The Big Mac did not create McDonald's, but it became one of the clearest symbols of what McDonald's had built. A Big Mac is not the most luxurious burger in the world. That is not the point. Its power comes from standardization. 2 patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun. The formula became so familiar that the product turned into a kind of edible logo. That is what makes the Big Mac interesting. It is a sandwich, but it also represents an industrial system. McDonald's did not become powerful only by selling food. It became powerful by making food predictable. The same basic experience could be reproduced across thousands of restaurants, cities, highways, airports, malls, and countries. The Big Mac captured that promise. A customer did not need to know the cook. They did not need to trust a local kitchen. They did not need to study the menu. They already knew what the product was supposed to be. That kind of familiarity is valuable. In food, uncertainty is friction. McDonald's reduced uncertainty. The Big Mac became a benchmark for that system. It was so standardized and globally recognized that The Economist later used it as the basis for the Big Mac Index, a rough way to compare purchasing power across countries. That is an incredible transformation. A fast food item became an economic symbol, but the deeper business mechanism is the franchise system. The Big Mac helped franchisees sell a product customers already recognized. Advertising made the product famous. Scale lowered procurement costs. Operations made the product repeatable. Repeatability protected the brand. The brand attracted more customers. More customers strengthened the franchise network. The product and the system reinforced each other. The Big Mac was not just food. It was proof that McDonald's could turn taste, speed, price, and predictability into a global operating model. The lesson is that a single product can become an empire when it makes a complex operation feel simple to the customer. Behind the counter, everything is processed. In the customer's hand, it is just a Big Mac. Number 7. Barbie, the empire built on identity. Barbie is not just a doll. Barbie is a format. That is why the product lasted. A normal toy has one identity. Barbie could have infinite identities. Dr. Barbie. Astronaut Barbie. President Barbie, Fashion Barbie. Movie Barbie, Collector Barbie. Nostalgia Barbie. Diverse Barbie. Controversial Barbie. Reinvented Barbie. The doll was the base product, but the real machine was transformation. Barbie allowed Mattel to sell the same core idea again and again through new outfits, careers, accessories, houses, cars, friends, movies, collaborations, collector's editions, and cultural moments. That is how a doll becomes a platform. The child does not only buy one product. The child enters a world. The parent understands the brand. Retailers know the shelf. Media expands the story. Collectors create secondary demand. Nostalgia brings adults back. A movie can revive the brand for a new generation. The product becomes elastic. Barbie's strength was aspiration. The original idea was different from many baby dolls of the time. Barbie was not only something to care for. Barbie was someone to imagine becoming. That distinction created an enormous emotional space. But Barbie's empire also shows the risk of identity products. If the product reflects aspiration, then it also reflects social criticism. For decades, Barbie was criticized for unrealistic body ideals, narrow beauty standards, and the values it seemed to project. Mattel had to keep reinventing the brand because the culture around girls, representation, fashion, and identity kept changing. That is what makes Barbie more than a toy story. It is a story of cultural adaptation. The same product that created pricing power and loyalty also created scrutiny. A toy that becomes a symbol must survive arguments about what it symbolizes. Barbie's empire lasted because Mattel did not treat the doll as frozen. It extended, revised, defended, diversified, and reintroduced Barbie again and again. The lesson is clear. A single product becomes an empire when it can absorb new meanings without losing its core recognition. Barbie is powerful because everyone knows what Barbie is. Barbie survives because that meaning can keep changing. Number 6. Marlboro. The empire built on image and the warning behind it. Marlboro is one of the most important product empires in modern marketing. It is also one of the most harmful. That needs to be said clearly. Tobacco is dangerous, addictive, and deadly. The commercial success of Marlboro is not something to admire as a social good. It is a case study in how branding can attach identity to a product with severe public health costs. And that is exactly why it matters. Marlboro's rise shows the terrifying power of image. Originally, filtered cigarettes were often seen as feminine in the American market. Marlboro needed a repositioning. The answer was not a new manufacturing miracle. It was a myth, rugged independence, open landscapes, masculinity, freedom, the cowboy. The Marlboro Man did not sell a feature, he sold a fantasy. That fantasy was so powerful that the product became more than a cigarette brand. It became a symbol of identity. The red and white pack became instantly recognizable. The advertising made the product feel like it belonged to a larger story about toughness and freedom. This is the dark side of single product empire building. A product does not need to be better for it to become dominant. It needs to mean something. Marlboro's meaning was constructed with extreme skill. Advertising turned a commodity into a lifestyle signal. Distribution put the product everywhere. Brand consistency made the pack familiar. Pricing power came from recognition. Loyalty came not only from habit but also from addiction and identity. That combination is ethically explosive. Brand plus addictive product, plus mass distribution, plus emotional imagery can build an empire with enormous social cost. Marlboro also shows how regulation changes product empires. As tobacco advertising became restricted in many markets, the old tools weakened. The brand remained powerful, but it could no longer operate with the same cultural freedom. That is the lesson. A single product can become an empire by owning an image. But when the product harms people, that empire becomes a public health problem, not just a business success. Marlboro proves that branding can be powerful enough to reshape behavior, and that is exactly why some products should never be romanticized. Number 5. Toyota Corolla. The empire built on trust. The Toyota Corolla is not an empire of excitement. It is an empire of dependability. That is why it matters. Many famous products win by being glamorous, addictive, fashionable, or culturally explosive. The Corolla won by being the car millions of people could trust. Affordable, efficient, durable, easy to maintain, practical, global. For most buyers, a car is not a toy. It is a serious financial decision. It gets people to work, it carries children. It survives commutes, weather, bad roads, tight budgets, long ownership cycles, and resale decisions. The Corolla became a product empire because it reduced anxiety. A customer buying a Corolla was often not trying to make a statement. They were trying not to make a mistake. That is a different kind of power. Toyota built the Corolla around mass reliability. It could adapt to different markets, regulations, body styles, fuel expectations, and customer needs while keeping the core promise intact. This is why the Corolla crossed 50 million units sold. That number is not just a sales achievement. It is evidence of a trust machine. Toyota's manufacturing system supported the product. Dealers supported the product. Mechanics understood the product. Used car markets trusted the product. Families recommended the product. Fleet buyers understood the economics. Resale value reinforced the decision. Each Corolla made the next Corolla easier to buy. That is how reliability compounds. A person has a good experience. They recommend it. The resale market rewards it. Mechanics learn it. Parts become available. The brand becomes safer. The next buyer feels less risk. The product becomes a self-reinforcing proof. The Corolla also shows that a single product empire does not always require cultural noise. It can be quiet. It can be boring. It can win by not failing. In business, boring is often underrated. A reliable product can create one of the strongest forms of loyalty because the customer may not want novelty. They want confidence. The Corolla's lesson is that trust can be more scalable than excitement. Excitement sells the first unit. Trust sells the next 50 million. Number 4. The Lego brick. The empire built on a connection. The Lego brick is one of the most elegant product empires ever created because the basic product is almost absurdly simple, a plastic brick. But the magic is not the brick, it is the connection. The clutch power, the ability of bricks to snap together firmly and come apart cleanly, turned Lego from a toy into a system. A brick made decades ago can still connect with bricks made today. That consistency is the empire. Most toys tell you what they are. A Lego brick asks what it can become. That is the core mechanism. The product has no single final form. It can be a house, a spaceship, a city, a dragon, a robot, a castle, a car, a movie set, a sculpture, or a machine. The same basic unit creates infinite variation. That makes Lego very different from ordinary toys. A child can build, break, rebuild, combine sets, ignore instructions, follow instructions, invent new worlds, keep old pieces, add new pieces, pass them down. The product does not expire emotionally as quickly because the system can be renewed. That is why Lego's empire is not only physical, it is intellectual. Lego sells creativity through constraints. The brick has rules, it has dimensions, it has studs, it has connection points. But inside those rules, the imagination expands. 6 identical 2x4 bricks can be combined in hundreds of millions of ways. That single fact explains the empire better than any ad slogan. Small standard pieces create massive possibility. Lego's business machine grew from that. Sets create themes. Themes create worlds. Worlds create licensing deals. Licensing deals bring Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel, Minecraft, and other franchises into the brick system. Movies and games expand the brand. Adult collectors increase the market. Retail stores turn Lego into an experience. But the center remains the brick. The Lego brick is a platform product. Every new set makes the old pieces more useful. Every old piece makes the new set more valuable. That is rare. Most products become obsolete. Lego pieces accumulate. The lesson is that a single product becomes an empire when it creates a standard that customers can build on. The brick is small. The system is enormous. Number 3. Windows. The empire built on default. Windows is not a physical product like a bottle, a doll, or a burger. But it may be one of the most powerful single-product empires ever built, because Windows became the default environment for the personal computer. That word matters. Default. A default product does not need every user to love it. It needs the world around it to depend on it. Windows became powerful because it sat between users, software developers, hardware manufacturers, corporate IT departments, and the entire PC industry. If you bought a PC, it probably ran Windows. If developers built software for the mainstream market, they built for Windows. If companies trained workers, they trained them on Windows. If schools bought computer labs, many used Windows. If hardware companies wanted volume, they supported Windows. That created a network effect. Users went where the software was. Developers went where the users were. PC makers went where the demand was. Businesses went where compatibility was safest. Windows was not only an operating system, it was a coordination system. That is what made Microsoft so powerful. The product created an ecosystem in which everyone had the reason to stay. Leaving Windows was not just choosing another interface. It could mean losing software compatibility, retraining employees, changing workflows, rebuilding IT systems, and taking risk. That gave Microsoft pricing power. It also gave Microsoft distribution power. Windows could be pre-installed on machines sold by other companies. Microsoft did not need to manufacture every computer. The PC industry distributed the product for it. That is the beauty of a software empire. The marginal copy costs little. The ecosystem does the selling. The standard protects itself. Windows also created another machine: Office, enterprise licensing, developer tools, server products, and eventually cloud migration. But the foundation was the operating system. The single product became the gateway to the larger Microsoft business. Windows shows that a product empire does not always need emotional love. It can be built on necessity. People may argue about Windows. They may criticize it, they may complain about updates. But for decades, entire industries were organized around it. That is a different kind of dominance. Coca-Cola owned refreshment. Windows owned compatibility. The lesson is that a single product becomes an empire when it becomes the safest choice for everyone else's decisions. Not always the most beautiful. Not always the most loved. The default. Number 2. Coca-Cola. The empire built on ritual. Coca-Cola is one of the most recognizable products in human history. But the product itself is simple. A sweet carbonated drink. That simplicity is the point. Coca-Cola became an empire, not because people needed it to survive, but because the company made it feel like it belonged everywhere, with meals, at stadiums, in movie theaters, at gas stations, in glass bottles, in cans, in vending machines, at holidays, at family events, in restaurants, across borders. Coca-Cola's genius was distribution plus emotion. The company did not only sell taste, it sold availability, repetition, and memory. A Coke could be cheap enough for mass consumption, branded enough to feel familiar, and distributed widely enough to become part of daily life. The bottle shape, the logo, the color, the advertising, the sound of opening it, the association with happiness and refreshment, all of it turned the drink into a ritual. That ritual created pricing power. The ingredients alone do not explain Coca-Cola's value. The brand does. A generic cola can be cheaper, but Coca-Cola carries memory. It carries consistency. It carries global recognition. A person can travel to another country and still recognize the product immediately. That is an empire of familiarity. Coca-Cola's business system also separated concentrate, bottling, distribution, marketing, and local execution in a way that allowed global scale with local reach. The drink could be everywhere without the company operating every single point of sale directly. The product traveled through a system, and the system reinforced the product. Advertising made Coke desirable. Distribution made it available. Availability made it habitual. Habit made the brand stronger. The stronger brand made distribution more valuable. This is why Coca-Cola is one of the cleanest examples of a single product empire. The company now owns many brands, but the core myth still comes from one drink. Coca-Cola's lesson is that a single product can build an empire when it becomes a universal occasion, not something people buy once. Something people return to without thinking. Number 1. The iPhone, the empire built on a gateway. The iPhone is not the best example, because it sold a lot of units. It is the best example because it transformed one product into the center of an entire economic universe. When Apple introduced the iPhone, it did not simply enter the phone market. It changed what the phone was. Before the iPhone, a phone was mostly a communication device with extra features. After the iPhone, the phone became a software surface for life. Music, maps, photos, messages, search, games, video, banking, shopping, work, transportation, identity, payments, health, social media. The iPhone became the device through which people touched the digital economy. That gave Apple extraordinary power. The hardware sold at premium prices. The operating system created loyalty. The App Store created a developer economy. iCloud made switching harder. Accessories expanded the ecosystem. Apple Watch, AirPods, services, payments, subscriptions, and privacy branding all became stronger because the iPhone was already in the customer's pocket. This is the purest modern product empire. The iPhone is a product. But it is also a platform, a store, a camera, a wallet, a remote control, a status symbol, and a gateway into Apple services. That is why it changed Apple. Before the iPhone, Apple was admired but smaller. After the iPhone, Apple became one of the most valuable companies in the world. The iPhone created pricing power because it combined hardware, software, brand, ecosystem, and habit. A competitor could copy the shape of a smartphone, but copying the relationship between iPhone, iOS, App Store, Apple services, accessories, developers, and customer loyalty was much harder. That relationship is the empire. Apple did not need every customer to buy every Apple product. It needed the iPhone to become the center of a customer's digital life. Once that happened, the rest became easier. A person with an iPhone is more likely to buy AirPods. A person with AirPods may care more about Apple Music. A person using iCloud may hesitate to switch. A person using Apple Pay may stay inside the system. A developer builds for iOS because the customers are valuable. The App Store becomes more important because the developers are there. The flywheel keeps turning. The iPhone's lesson is that the most powerful product empire is not built on one purchase. It is built when one purchase changes every future purchase. That is why the iPhone belongs at the top. It did not just make Apple rich. It made Apple structurally central to modern life. And that brings us back to the bigger pattern. These 10 products look completely different. A drink, a phone, an operating system, a toy brick, a doll, a burger, a car, A razor. A prescription drug, a harmful tobacco brand. But the business mechanics repeat. A single product becomes an empire when it does at least one of 5 things. First, it creates a habit. Coca-Cola, Gillette, Big Mac, and iPhone all work because they become part of repeated behavior. Second, it creates a standard. Windows, Lego, Corolla, and iPhone became powerful because other people built expectations around them. Third, it creates identity. Barbie, Marlboro, Coca-Cola, and iPhone show how a product can become a signal of who people think they are or want to be. Fourth, it creates distribution power. Big Mac, Coca-Cola, Corolla, Gillette, and Windows all spread because systems formed around them. Fifth, it creates a platform for the next product. The iPhone leads to services. Windows leads to software ecosystems. Lego leads to infinite sets. Barbie leads to accessories and media. Gillette leads to blades. Coca-Cola leads to global beverage distribution. That is the real lesson. The greatest single product empires are not small companies that happen to have one hit. They are machines where one product becomes the organizing principle for everything else. But there is also a warning. A single product empire can become too dependent on the product that made it great. If the culture turns, Barbie has to reinvent. If regulation tightens, Marlboro loses marketing freedom. If technology shifts, Windows must defend relevance. If health concerns rise, fast food must adjust. If consumer habits change, Coca-Cola must expand beyond soda. If patents expire, Viagra faces generics. If mobility changes, Corolla must adapt to electrification. If ecosystems weaken, even the iPhone becomes vulnerable. The same product that creates the empire can become the empire's constraint. That is the hidden risk of single product power. The product teaches the company what works. Then the company may struggle to imagine a world where that product is no longer the center. But at their peak, these products did something rare. They made the market organize around them. Retailers made room for them. Consumers remembered them. Competitors reacted to them. Supply chains supported them. Advertisers mythologized them. Developers built for them. Families trusted them. Doctors prescribed them. Restaurants standardized them. Drivers recommended them. That is when a product stops being a product. It becomes infrastructure. Not always physical infrastructure, sometimes emotional infrastructure. Sometimes commercial infrastructure, sometimes cultural infrastructure, sometimes technological infrastructure. A bottle of Coke becomes a global ritual. A Windows license becomes the language of the office. A Lego brick becomes a system of imagination. A Corolla becomes a promise that the car will start tomorrow. An iPhone becomes the remote control for modern life. The final lesson is simple. A product empire is not built when people buy something once. It is built when the product changes what people expect next. After Coca-Cola, people expected branded refreshment everywhere. After the Big Mac, people expected fast food to be identical across locations. After Gillette, people expected the handle and refill system. After Windows, people expected software compatibility. After Lego, people expected toys to be expandable. After Barbie, people expected a doll to carry a world. After Corolla, people expected affordable reliability at scale. After Viagra, people expected a private medical problem to have a branded pharmaceutical answer. After Marlboro, regulators and societies had to confront how dangerous products could be wrapped in powerful identity marketing. After the iPhone, people expected the phone to be the center of everything. That is how one product creates an empire. Not by being alone, but by becoming the product everything else connects to.